guess what time it is? It's cookie season. I'm Ella here, your favorite Girl Scout, and we have your oldies but goodies. Lemonades, Dimmits, peanut butter sandwiches, and more. This year we have a new cookie flavor called the Explore Mug. My goal is 200 boxes, so please make that happen. You're gonna buy cookies anyway, so why not buy them from me?
What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Phillies Sports History for February 26, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. And yes, Ella only needs 13 more boxes of cookies. So get on it. You know you want some. Go buy them from your favorite Girl Scout, Ella. She's 13 boxes away from her goal. All right. Flyers returned to action last night after the Olympic break, and it was more of the same. 3-1 loss. Although this one wasn't as bad as others. This was a close, highly contested game. Dan Vladar was actually really good in goal. Gave up 2. The third goal for the Capitals was an empty net. But they just could not get much rolling offensively. Kind of to be expected coming out of the Olympic break, but they got some decisions to make here. They're currently 8 points out of a playoff spot they have a couple games in hand, apparently, but are they going to be sellers? Are they going to be traders, or buyers? I should say traders. Buyers at the trade deadline, which is next Friday. They got 3. They play again. They play again tonight in New York against the Rangers, and then they're in action again on Sunday. So I think we'll know more heading into or coming out of this weekend on which direction they're going to go. Noah Cates scored the only goal for the Flyers last night, but they lose it 3-1 in their return from the All-Star break. And we might go back on a Tankathon watch. I was hoping to be on a playoff watch, but depending on how this weekend goes out, we might see the triumphant return of Tankathon for the Flyers. I'll take a look at the draft. Should they blow it? I don't know how much more they can blow it up, but we'll see. But they're back in action tonight against the Rangers. Sixers are also in action tonight down at the X versus the Heat. This is a huge game. Sixers are 1.5 games up on the Heat in that 6th spot. The top of the East is still well within reach with plenty of games left. I believe they're 5.5 back of the Celtics for second. I think it's all pretty well pretty well within reach. But it starts tonight. You got to kind of take it one game at a time at this point for the Sixers. Just I want to be back on. I'm sorry, they're 6.5 games back of the Celtics for second. The Pistons are kind of running away with the top seed. But Joe should be playing tonight. Apparently the injury was kind of scary. Like it was, he compared it to electroshock therapy, whatever was going on with the soreness in his leg. But seemed to play well the other night. He's probable for tonight, which is good. Would like to see him play tonight, get ramped up for that big game against the Celtics. But first, you got to take care of the Heat tonight down at the X. The Union are also in action tonight. Leg 2 of their CONCACAF Champions Cup match with Defense FC from the Trinidad Tobago League. The Union won 5-0 last time. So as long as they don't lose by more than 5 goals, they will be moving on to the next round. All right, yesterday's trivia question. We talked about career hat tricks for the Flyers, and I asked what 4 Flyers have 10 or more career hat tricks. That would be Tim Kerr with 17, Rick McLeish with 12, and John LeClaire and Eric Lindros with 11 each. All right, be sure to follow me on social media at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. I mentioned next week there will be a free agent edition of the Brotherly Birds breakdown, so stay tuned for that. Again, best way to get notified is to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And of course, we are proud members of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network. Go to clashingconferences.com to see what they have to offer and how you can get involved. Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. All right, February 26th. We're going to talk a little hoops and some hockey today. First, we're going to go all the way back to 1955, and it was the end of an era for Big Five Philly college hoops. The doubleheaders that everybody knows and loves, which really is kind of how they have the Big Five Classic set up today, usually are associated with the Palestra, the Streamers, all that other good stuff. But prior to going to and playing them at the Palestra, they were played at Convention Hall, and the last one of those doubleheaders took place on this day back in 1955. St. Joe's lost the first game to Muhlenberg 87-80, but the fans who stuck around were treated to a thriller in the second game. Temple took on LaSalle, the defending champion LaSalle Explorers, and it was exciting back and forth the whole time. Temple was up. LaSalle kept battling back. LaSalle forced overtime, ended up winning it 59-57 in OT. Hal Lear had 20 for the Owls. Tom Gola had 19 for the Explorers as the Explorers won the last Philly doubleheader in Convention Hall history. And now, this wasn't even Big Five yet. The Big Five was just announced the year before it would start play for the 55-56 season. So all of those games would then move to the Palestra. So this was just an old school pre-Big Five matchup between Temple and LaSalle. LaSalle, to their credit, would get back to the final that year before losing to San Francisco and one guy named Bill Russell, who's a pretty good player. Tom Gola, to his credit, led the Explorers with 19 points, ended up with his third straight consensus All-American nod. But on this day, the last college hoops doubleheader featuring Philly teams, as St. Joe's loses to Muhlenberg, LaSalle beats Temple in overtime, and the following year, everything would be moved to the Palestra. All right, sticking with hoops, but this time going to high school. Fast forward to 1968, and we're ready for some Catholic League action. North Catholic took on Bishop McDevitt in the playoffs. North Catholic's coach, who happened to also be the disciplinarian of the school, suspended the entire varsity team for cutting class, sending the message that academics are more important than sports. So who steps up? The JV team found out, like on a whim, hey, you're going down to the Palestra for this playoff game to take on Bishop McDevitt. Some guys had to borrow shoes. It was just complete chaos. Figure McDevitt would roll over this team. Well, that JV team was inspired, beat the crap out of Bishop McDevitt 77-60, sending North Catholic to the semifinals, where they would lose to the eventual champion Cardinal O'Hara in the semis. But North Catholic's JV team pulls off the massive upset, smacking Bishop McDevitt around 77-60 due to the entire varsity team being suspended for cutting class. David beats Goliath, whatever you want to say, but what a matchup in Catholic. You could never see something like that happen today. There would be way too much outrage and everything, but kudos to that coach and the disciplinarian for saying, you don't want to come to school? You're not going to play. And then the JV team, kudos to them, even more kudos for stepping up and pulling off the massive upset. And then fast forward to 1997, Flyers beat the Senators 8-5, and it was a good day for the Legion of Doom. John LeClair with his 6th career hat trick added an assist. Mikkel Renberg, 2 goals and 3 assists. But the story was Big E. Eric Lindros had a goal and 6 assists. Good enough for 7 points, which is and still is, his career high in total points in a game. The 6 assists also set a Flyers record for assists in the game. And I think sometimes we were talking about this on the Discord channel a little bit yesterday. Had some folks saying Eric Lindros was a tad bit overrated. I don't think he was. That Legion of Doom line was outstanding. I think Bobby Clark gave up on the entire bunch way too fast. But the Legion of Doom had themselves a day today. John LeClair with a hat trick and assist. Mikkel Renberg, 2 goals and 3 assists. Eric Lindros, a goal and 6 assists, setting the Flyers record for assists in a game. All right, today's trivia question. On this day in 1985, Dr. J passed Elvin Hayes for 3rd on the all-time scoring list if you include his points in the ABA, which the NBA, as of today, still does not include them in the official NBA category. They count whatever those ABA players had once they got after the merger happened. But if you could do combined points, Dr. J was number 3 on that all-time list, passing Elvin Hayes on this day in 1985. Who are the top 10 right now in NBA history, just NBA, scoring leaders? I think this should be, a few of these should be no-brainers, but some of them, I think, may or may not shock you. So who are the top 10 career scoring leaders in NBA history as we go on to today's trivia question? This would have been a good Friday question, but have a little bit of fun here on a Thursday. Who are the top 10 NBA career scoring leaders? Total points, by the way. And then it is Thursday. That means it's time for a little Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. They have you covered for your Philly sports-based apparel needs. They are the GOAT. So go check them out. And don't forget that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, so NFL free agency kicks off on March 11th. Next week happens to be the anniversary of Philly fans trying to do something, and Philly fans and WIP. I will give WIP credit for this. They kind of jumped the shark with the whole sending the Dirty 30 up there to boo when Donovan was drafted. But this one, I kind of like. It is the anniversary of WIP and Eagles fans trying their best to keep Reggie White in Philly. On March 3rd, 1993, 2,000 people gathered in Love Park for the Rally for Reggie. WIP was a big part of this. Channel 10 was a big part of it. My old boss, Herb Lusk, former Eagles player, former Eagles chaplain, close friend of Reggie, was a part of it. Tony Bruno read a letter from Reggie White where Reggie thanked fans, said he's not closing the door on coming to Philly, and he's just waiting to hear from management, a.k.a. Norman Brayman. Wanted the Eagles to be aggressive like the other teams who were pursuing him. Never heard from Rich Kotite. All of this. It was a huge mess. But ultimately, Reggie did choose to go to Green Bay. F Norman Brayman forever. Can't stand that guy. Ruined my childhood when he let Reggie White walk out the door. And for all intents and purposes, Reggie wanted to stay in Philly, but this was a cool day. I remember watching the clips and everything on the news that night. But the Rally for Reggie, March 3rd, 1993, over 2,000 fans piled into Love Park trying to convince Reggie to sign. I guess more importantly, not trying to convince Reggie to sign, trying to convince Norman Brayman to sign Reggie, open up his checkbook, which unfortunately he didn't do. Again, Reggie claims he did. His widow Sarah still claims that he wanted to come back. And Norman Brayman, of course, says, well, they never came. I forget whatever his lame excuse is, but Norman Brayman, there are a few people. I know we forgave him last January when we did our forgiveness. But remember, I said we forgive and we don't forget. I still don't forget, and I don't like you, Norman Brayman. But the rally for Reggie is today's Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. And it's crazy that I still get like angry about that whole situation. And it was what, 30 some years ago? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. 33 years ago, and I'm still very, very angry about Norman Brayman letting Reggie White go. Idiot. And then finally today, our Black History Month spotlight, forged in Philly. We're going to go a little outside the city, and the second time we're going to this place. But today's spotlight is on Rip Hamilton from Coatesville. Remember, we talked about it being a steel town, so everybody that comes out of there is tough as steel. He was always in the shadow of Kobe, but I think he forged a pretty good career for himself. In high school, like I said, in the shadow of Kobe, great player, number 32, retired by the Coatesville basketball team. And Rip was always proud of his roots. Always said, I'm not from Philly. I'm from Coatesville, which is about 40 miles outside of Philly. Still says stuff like that to this day. So you got to respect a man who was proud of his roots. But certainly was shaped by the Philadelphia hoop scene, whether it was playing AAU tournaments down in the city, pickup games, traveling with Kobe, whatever it was. He was a McDonald's All-American in high school, went on to UConn where he won a national championship. He was All-American, most outstanding player in the tournament where they retired his number 32. He's in the College Hoops Hall of Fame. And then went on to have a pretty damn good NBA career. 14 years in the NBA, won a championship, 3-time All-Star, obviously known for his mask. But I think everybody remembers him for the mask. But I think what sometimes people forget was just how relentless he was moving without the ball. Dude never stood still. I remember watching him in high school, him like just being nonstop. Even before when we were in high school, we used to go up to the Y. And when he made JV as a freshman, all of a sudden he stopped playing with us and he would work on conditioning. One of the most conditioned guys I've ever seen. Continued that in college, and then obviously in the NBA, just constantly movement without the ball. It's something I try to stress to my kids who are playing basketball now. Move without the ball. Tire your opponent out. Get in shape. But obviously, college champion, NBA champion. He was born in Coatesville, forged by the Philly hoop scene to realize that conditioning, discipline, and playing the right way is what leads to success. Good lesson in here, kids out there. Hustle. Always hustle, and good things will happen to you. But Rip Hamilton, born in Coatesville, forged by the Philly hoop scene, is today's Black History Month Forged in Philly spotlight. We'll finish this series up tomorrow with two of my all-time favorite players in basketball history. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. Let me know your thoughts on Norman Brayman. Is he... I know there's still a lot of people out there who say, oh, well, Reggie went for the money, even though God told him there. No, he went because Norman Brayman did not offer him a contract. But would love to know your thoughts. Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest. The top 10, the trivia question, the top 10 NBA career scorers. All of that is fair game. Was Eric Lindros overrated? I'd love to continue that conversation as well. All right. On this day in 1997, Eric Lindros sets a career high in points with 7, sets a Flyers record with assists with 6, as the Flyers beat the Senators 8-5. John LeClair with a hat trick. Just a good day overall for the Legion of Doom. 1968, North Catholic's JV team beats Bishop McDevitt's varsity team in the Catholic League playoffs 77-60 when the North Catholic coach suspended the entire varsity team for cutting class. And in 1955, the last college hoops doubleheader featuring city teams at Convention Hall, St. Joe's loses to Muhlenberg LaSalle beats Temple 59-57 in overtime. We'll be back tomorrow to recap the Union, Flyers, and Sixers tomorrow. Big day. Of course, it's Fridays. We spend Fridays with AI. Get you ready for what to watch for the weekend. Starting to get back into the flow, and I must say, I like it. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for February 26, 2026. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. And until next time, sorry, I had the hiccups there. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.